Today I want to talk about the S&P and some of the trades that I had this past week on Wednesday and also last week on Thursday going into Friday. Really technical week. I had trades in the S&P, the Nasdaq, the Russell, very technical, good setups all around. But I want to focus on the ES because I think they were the most technical market. We can learn more from this. And also, let's just keep the video short, stick to the main points, and move along. So starting with the S&P, if we look at the daily time frame, we have this 50% short here of 42.23 half. And then we ran into our support in the S&P of 35.73, this blue level here. And then there was a 50% long of 38.41. I did not have the 50% long of 38.41. This traded a month ago in December, and I know it looks great, but this is not an easy trade to take because let's look at what happened this year. If you look at all the swing low to swing highs, this long, it ends up failing. That 50% long in the S&P ends up failing. If we take this low to this high, this 50% long got a reaction, then ultimately also failed. If we look at this low to this high, this 50% long also failed. It's a clear downtrend, and the market just continues to trade shorts and head lower. Here, we trade the 50% long, get somewhat of a reaction, and then again, ultimately fail. And then we trade this support of 35.73. And then we get some nice buy-in activity. We actually, for the first time in 2022, had continuous buying when we saw this 50% long trade of 36.39 take the same setup to its new high here. And we also saw a 37.15 give a good reaction. So we're finally seeing buying do something in the ES toward the end of the year. Now, this 38.41 setup comes into play. And again, I didn't have this trade simply because it was just less likely to hold. And I want to take setups that are likely going to hold. Also, it's a huge setup. So this would be more of like a swing trade than it would be a day trade, obviously, when you have a trade this size. Now, what we want to look for when we trade these larger levels is we want to see continuation in that trend and then try to find trades within these setups. So in this case with the S&P, I'm going to draw this opposing 50% short. I'm going to go to a 4-hour time frame. Then we have this 39.84 quarter 50% short in the S&P. We're coming off 38.41. That's our 50% long on the daily time frame. We just slightly break above the 40-30 area here. So we're taking out our opposing short setup. And what that does is it allows us to look for shorts and, to look for longs and basically continue the trend higher, right? So what we're going to do now is draw the 38.41 swing low of that setup to its high. 39.12 is that setup. So this traded on Thursday morning. I got long from about 39.15 or so, and I ended up holding this in the overnight because it basically didn't really move at all on Thursday. And then Friday, it ended up having a great move. I did not hold over the weekend, unfortunately. Obviously, it would be nice to get like 180 points in the ES. I did not hold it for that long. I don't really like to hold over the weekend when it comes to futures. I did hold into Friday though. And I didn't even get as much as I could have on Friday because I was traveling to see some friends and everything. So I ended up cutting this trade a little bit short compared to what I could have done probably, but still got a decent return on this trade from 39.12. Just a really good move as we see. Now, what ends up happening from here, and we'll get onto an hourly chart, is we break the opposing short. Again, if we draw our 50% short, we break above the 61.8. 39.84 quarter becomes broken again. We take that out. And now we continue higher and we make a higher high. So that's going to allow me to get some confidence to look for longs again. I see the higher high. I see the broken opposing short. So now what I'm going to do is draw the 50% long from this low to its swing high. That gives us a 39.79 quarter. I limit long 39.82. And the 61.8 is a 39.60. So I'm basically risking about 22 points here. And then my first contract, I get 22. My second contract, I get 44. So I got 22 points and 44 points in the ES. Really good move. It took a little bit to get going. That has to do with the VIX. We can cover that a different time. I'll talk about it more in my premium trade room. But basically, the VIX was coming into a short setup that hadn't traded yet. and the ES traded its long. Once the VIX tagged its short setup, that's when we saw the ES turn around. Same with the NASDAQ as well. The indices turned around and went higher right when the VIX traded its short, and then we just saw it rocket. And again, I didn't have the 40.93 target. Again, it would be nice to get like 100 points in the ES, but I didn't hold it for that long. I just got 22 and 44, but still a really good trade. 1.5 times risk overall. The first contract's 1 to 1. Second contract is 1 to make 2. So still a pretty solid trade there in the ES. But that's basically all I did last week and then Thursday as well, the prior week. But what I'm going to look for moving forward now, going into next week, is we've completed 40.93 half. And some traders get confused and think, I'm going to draw this swing low to this swing high because we completed the target. And that 40.36 quarter could come into play. But I like to think about what's the larger sequence? What's the larger sequence that completed? I want to go from there because the larger sequence tends to be more technical than the smaller sequences are. The larger the sequence, the more technical it seems to be, at least from my experience. So there is a 40.36 quarter, but I'd rather draw a swing low from the 39.12 setup because we completed that target. And I want to go from the larger sequence. So that's going to be this low to its high. That's going to be a 4,005 half. So I'm going to be eyeing up 4,005 half. Obviously, we don't know what next week is going to bring yet. But if we come down into this level, there's a good chance that I'm going to be looking to go long around 4,007, 4,008, somewhere in there off of this 50% long area. If this setup were to fail, so if we break below 39.80 and continue lower, then we may see the same setup to its new high trade, and that's going to be a 39.49. But notice how all of these setups that I'm drawing, they come from 38.41, right? This is our daily 50% long. And we had, inside of the 38.41, we had a 39.12. And then inside of 39.12, there was a 39.79 quarter. Now the target completes. So we're going to look for the next 50% long of 4,005 half. And if that fails, there could be a full 50% long of 39.49. And then if that setup were to fail, you just follow the sequence. So if we break below 39.10, then we could fall lower into 38.41. And that's how I use these levels, not only to trade, but also analysis. This isn't just to find entries and exits. It's also used, for me, I find it useful to draw these levels and I can get an idea of where price is likely going to go. It's great objective analysis that you can use every day when you're going through some trades. And using that same method, because we've broken the short here in the ES, we could argue that the ES could just continue higher until we trade 42.23 half. The ES has this much room to run since that short broke, and then once it retests its short, we'll have to reevaluate and see what the situation is and everything there. But that's how I use these levels, not only to trade, but also for analysis. So that pretty much wraps up our video here. We'll see what happens next week. We'll see if 4,005 half ends up coming into play and how that looks. But if you found this useful, please leave a like. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel, check all the videos out. Obviously, any questions, comments, you can comment down below. If you want to get my free analysis every morning, there's a link in the description to join the Discord for free. You can get the analysis and everything there. Otherwise, take care, have a great weekend, and I will catch you guys the next time I see you.